Welcome to Earth, third rock from the Sun, that little blue planet with 70% of its surface area covered by water. This is a unusual planet because it is teeming with life. Life that is made up of cells that allow the organisms they compose to use energy, grow, reproduce, develop, evolve, and respond to their environments. It allows them to live, as nothing does on any other planet. These cells are the most basic units of life. They are beautiful and complex. They come in two different forms, maybe prokaryotic, pro meaning before, and karyot referring to the nucleus. These ancient cell types have no nucleus, and their genetic material, DNA and RNA, are in the cytoplasm of the cell. The more recently evolved cells, the eukaryotes, have a nucleus, a membrane that surrounds their genetic material, and they are filled with membrane-bound organelles. Cells must have a way to obtain energy. They are autotrophs. These cells obtain energy from organic sources such as sunlight, chemicals from the earth that are emitted from the earth, and other sources. Then there are the heterotrophs. Heterotrophs obtain energy by consuming other organic resources, also known as eating other organisms. All living organisms are interconnected and related. The tree of life shows how organisms are related to one another. The system of explaining these relationships is called taxonomy. Taxonomy breaks organisms down into many groups. The broadest of these are the domains. The domains include bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. These domains are then broken down into kingdoms. Within the domain of bacteria, you have the single kingdom bacteria. Within the domain of archaea, you have a single kingdom archaea. Within the domain of eukarya, you have four kingdoms: Animalium, Fungi, Plantain, and Protista. These are also called the animal, fungus, plant, and protist kingdoms. Let us start with bacteria. Bacteria are prokaryotic, that is, they have no nucleus or other membrane-bound organelles. Gnostic, staph, and salmonella are all examples of bacteria. Like bacteria, archaea are also prokaryotic. They lack a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Archaea are extremophiles that live extreme conditions such as thermal vents, swamps, and the guts of animals. Moving on to the eukarya, we encounter organisms that are eukaryotic or have a nucleus in their cells and other membrane-bound organelles. The eukarya includes the animals, the fungus, the plants, and Protista. Let's start with Protista. Protista may be autotrophic or heterotrophic. This means they can make their own. Some individuals make their own food while others rely on consuming other organisms. Euglena, Spirogyra, Parameciums, amoebas, and many other tiny and fantastic organisms that are an intricate part of our world make up the kingdom Protista. The next kingdom we're going to look at is Plantain. The plants are autotrophic. That means they can take energy from the sun and convert it into chemical energy. They include the club mosses, ferns, which have been around since the age of the dinosaurs, herbaceous flowering plants that we all love to have in our gardens, vines, which include grapes and kudzu, shrubs, and then the one we're almost familiar with, the trees. And now we'll move on to the fungi. Fungi are saprotrophic. This means they digest their food outside of their actual body and then absorb it. This is also called decomposition. The most famous or common of the fungi is the mushroom. We also have molds and mildews. And then we have smuts, rust, and bunts, which are a very common problem on a great many crops. Fungi are most closely related to Animalium. Animals are heterotrophic. They get their energy by consuming other organisms. The spineless creatures such as jellyfish and insects are animals, as well as vertebrates such as birds, reptiles and amphibians, which include snakes and frogs, and mammals. Don't forget, we're mammals as well. So, to briefly recap on the organization we have for organisms, there are 3 domains: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. The domains are broken into kingdoms: bacteria, archaea, Protista, Plantain, Fungi, and Animalium. Now, this overall classification of organisms can look very confusing. Keep in mind, domain is the broadest classification, followed by kingdom, then phylum, then class, then order, then family, then genus, then species, going from broadest to narrowest in their description. All organisms, when we refer to them by their scientific name, are named by their genus, then species. For example, humans are Homo sapiens. To help keep the order of these terms in your head in the right order, I think a wonderful thing to use is the mnemonic device, such as, didn't King Philip come over for great spaghetti? Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Now, you've heard a lot of new terms today. We've covered classification, we've covered prokaryotes versus eukaryotes, heterotrophs versus autotrophs. You are responsible for the following key terms, and additional information from this video may be included on a test, a quiz, or an assignment. But the key things you must focus on are what prokaryotic and eukaryotic mean, how they differ from each other, and which kingdoms they apply to. Heterotroph and autotroph. You need to know which kingdoms include animals that are heterotrophic and or autotrophic. You must also know the 3 domains and the 6 kingdoms, and you must know to which domain each of the kingdoms belongs. You should also know the order of classifications for organisms. This is the last thing I went over immediately before this slide. That was the didn't King Philip come over for great spaghetti mnemonic device. If you have any questions, please send me an email or contact me through the discussion forums. Good luck!